Ryan Foster wiped grease from his hands with a worn rag as he walked into the Sterling Club, an upscale bar he'd never have entered if his buddy hadn't insisted. His work overalls were stained from a long day at the garage, and he felt distinctly out of place among the suits and expensive dresses. "Come on, man," his friend Jake had said. "You never go out anymore. One drink, that's all I'm asking." But Jake was already 20 minutes late, and Ryan was starting to regret agreeing to this. He approached the polished wood bar and took a seat, aware of the looks he was getting. A group of men in expensive suits at the other end were already whispering and laughing, gesturing in his direction. "Did this place start letting in anyone off the street?" one of them said loudly enough to be heard. The others laughed. Ryan ignored them, used to being judged by his appearance. He'd learned long ago that what people thought didn't matter. What mattered was his daughter Lily, who was home with a babysitter, and the life he was building for them both. The bartender approached, eyeing Ryan's overalls with barely concealed disdain. "Can I help you?" "Just a beer, thanks. Whatever you have on tap." A woman in a striking red dress sat 2 seats away, nursing what looked like whiskey. She had elegant features and auburn hair styled in vintage waves. She glanced at Ryan briefly, her expression unreadable. "Look at this guy," one of the suits said louder now, clearly performing for his friends. "Probably came straight from fixing someone's toilet. Or their car," another added. "Hey buddy, my BMW needs an oil change. You available?" The group erupted in laughter. Ryan's jaw tightened, but he kept his eyes forward. The bartender set down his beer with a thud, some of it sloshing over the side. "That'll be $12. Ryan pulled out his wallet, counting out bills carefully. Behind him the mocking continued. $12, that's probably his hourly wage. If he's lucky. The woman in red turned slightly, her eyes narrowing as she watched the scene unfold. "So what brings a grease monkey to a place like this?" one of the suits called out, emboldened by alcohol and the laughter of his companions. "Get lost on your way to the sports bar?" "Leave him alone, Marcus," the woman said suddenly, her voice cutting through the noise. The men turned to look at her, surprised. "Oh, come on, Claire," the one called Marcus said. "We're just having some fun. Fun at someone else's expense." Very mature. She turned back to her drink. Marcus's face flushed. "Why do you care? You don't even know this guy. I don't need to know him to recognize basic human decency, something you clearly lack." The tension in the bar shifted. Marcus looked like he wanted to respond, but thought better of it. The woman had spoken with a kind of authority that suggested crossing her would be unwise. Ryan glanced at her, offering a small nod of thanks. She returned it with a slight smile. "So," she said, turning her stool toward him, "what do you actually do, besides apparently offend men in overpriced suits?" Ryan couldn't help but smile. "I'm a mechanic. Run a small garage across town. Honest work. It is. Keeps food on the table for my daughter. Single dad? 3 years now. Her mom left when Lily was 2, decided family life wasn't for her." The woman's expression softened. "That must be hard." "It is. But Lily's worth it. She's 5 now, and she's the best thing in my life." Behind them, Marcus and his friends had started talking among themselves again, shooting occasional glares in their direction. "I'm Claire, by the way." "Claire Morrison. Ryan Foster. Thanks for speaking up back there. You didn't have to. Actually, I did. Those men work for me. Or they did until about 5 minutes ago when I decided Marcus is fired." Ryan's eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Completely. I'm the CEO of Morrison Industries. We manufacture automotive parts. Those men were executives in my company. And I don't tolerate bullies." The revelation hung in the air. Behind them, the men's conversation had died as they realized Claire was no longer just another patron but their boss. "Ms. Morrison," Marcus stammered, suddenly pale. "We didn't realize you were—" "That's the problem, Marcus. You didn't think I was anyone important, so you felt free to mock and belittle someone based on his appearance and occupation. The same occupation, I might add, that our entire business depends on. Mechanics are our customers. They're the people who use our parts and recommend them to others. We were just joking. No, you were being cruel. There's a difference." Claire set down her glass with deliberate care. "Here's what's going to happen. You're all going to leave. Tomorrow morning you'll find termination notices in your email. And Marcus, You're going to apologize to Ryan before you go." Marcus looked like he'd been slapped. His companion sat frozen, unsure whether to intervene. "Ms. Morrison, please. I have a mortgage, kids in private school." "Then you should have thought about that before publicly, humiliating someone for working an honest job. Now apologize." Marcus turned to Ryan, his face a mixture of anger and humiliation. "I'm sorry," he managed. "For what specifically?" Claire prompted. "For mocking you, for being disrespectful. I was out of line." Ryan nodded slowly. Apology accepted. "For what it's worth, I hope you learned something from this." The men gathered their things and left quickly, the atmosphere in the bar shifting from tense to almost celebratory among the remaining patrons, many of whom had witnessed the entire scene. Claire turned back to Ryan. "Now, where were we? Oh yes, you were telling me about your daughter. You didn't have to do that," Ryan said. "Fire them, I mean. I'm used to people like that. That's exactly the problem. No one should be used to being treated that way, and people like Marcus need to learn that actions have consequences." Ryan studied her for a moment. "You're not what I expected when I walked in here tonight. What did you expect?" "I don't know. Just more of the same, I guess. People looking down on the guy in dirty overalls. Can I tell you something?" Claire leaned closer. "My father was a mechanic. That's how he started Morrison Industries, in a small garage not unlike yours. He built engines, then parts, then grew it into what it is today. He never forgot where he came from, and he made sure I didn't either. He sounds like a good man." "He was. He passed away 2 years ago. Left me in charge of the company he built from nothing." She smiled sadly. "I think he'd have liked you. He always said you could tell the measure of a person by how they treat people who can't do anything for them. Sounds like wisdom worth keeping." They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing easily. Claire asked about Ryan's garage, his daughter, his life. He asked about her work, the challenges of running a large company, the pressure of living up to her father's legacy. "So what's a CEO doing in a bar by herself on a Tuesday night?" Ryan finally asked. "Honestly? Hiding. I had a board meeting today that didn't go well. Sometimes I just need to be somewhere where no one knows who I am, where I can just be Claire, not Claire Morrison, CEO. Well, for what it's worth, you seem like you're doing a good job at being Claire." She laughed. "That's possibly the nicest thing anyone said to me in weeks." Ryan's phone buzzed. A text from his babysitter. "Everything okay here, but Lily's asking when you'll be home. She wants her bedtime story." "I should go," Ryan said, standing. "My daughter needs me." "Of course. Before you do, can I ask you something? Your garage, do you do fleet maintenance, business contracts?" "Not currently. It's just me and one employee. We mostly do individual repairs and regular maintenance for locals." Claire pulled a business card from her purse. "Call me tomorrow. Morrison Industries has a fleet of service vehicles that need regular maintenance. We've been using a corporate chain, but I'd rather work with someone local. Someone who understands the value of honest work." Ryan took the card, studying it. "Claire, you don't have to do this because of what happened tonight. I'm not. I'm doing it because I watched you handle those men with grace and dignity. Because you're raising a daughter on your own and building a business. Because my father taught me to recognize good people when I meet them." She smiled. "And because I have a feeling your work is probably better than the chain we're using now. Then I'll call you tomorrow." As Ryan turned to leave, Claire called after him. "Ryan, one more thing. Don't let anyone make you feel small because of what you do. The world needs good mechanics a lot more than it needs executives who mock them." 3 months later, Ryan stood in his expanded garage, watching his 3 new employees work on Morrison Industries' fleet vehicles. The contract Claire had given him had transformed his business, allowing him to hire help, upgrade equipment, and finally provide the stability he'd always wanted for Lily. But it wasn't just the business that had changed. Claire had become a regular presence in their lives, stopping by the garage to check on the fleet work, but staying to talk, to laugh, to gradually become something more than a client. She'd met Lily at a weekend barbecue Ryan had hosted, and his daughter had been immediately smitten with the woman who asked about her drawings and listened to her long stories about kindergarten. "She likes you," Ryan had told Claire as they'd watched Lily play in the backyard. "I like her too. She's remarkable, just like her father, now." As Ryan locked up the garage for the evening, he saw Claire's car pull into the lot. She stepped out, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, a far cry from the red dress she'd worn the night. They met. "Hey," she said, smiling. "Thought I'd see if you and Lily wanted to grab dinner. There's a new pizza place that just opened. Pizza's her favorite. Mine too, actually. I know. Lily told me last week. She's very informative." They drove to pick up Lily from after-school care, where she greeted Claire with a huge hug and immediately launched into a detailed account of her day. Over pizza, Ryan watched his daughter and this remarkable woman laugh together over a silly joke, and felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Hope. Later, after Lily was in bed, Ryan and Claire sat on his small porch, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. "Can I tell you something?" Claire said softly. "That night at the bar, I wasn't just hiding from a bad meeting. I was having a crisis of purpose, wondering if I was becoming the kind of CEO who only saw numbers and profit margins, who'd forgotten what my father built the company for. What did he build it for? For people, for families who depended on reliable vehicles to get to work, to take kids to school, to live their lives. He never forgot that every part we made served a real person with real needs." She turned to face Ryan. "Then I saw those men mocking you, and I saw you handle it with such grace. I saw a single father who worked hard to provide for his daughter, who didn't let cruelty make him cruel. And I remembered why any of this matters." "I'm glad I could help," Ryan said, "even if it meant being the target of some drunk executives. You did more than help. You reminded me who I wanted to be, who my father raised me to be." Ryan took her hand carefully. "For what it's worth, I think you're doing a pretty good job at being that person. That's the second nicest thing you've said to me. The first was when you said Lily and I seem to really like each other. You do. She asks about you all the time. When Claire is coming over, whether Claire likes unicorns, if Claire wants to see her latest drawing. And what do you tell her?" "I tell her that Claire is special, that she's someone who makes both of us happy, and that happiness is worth holding on to." Claire leaned her head on his shoulder. "I agree. Your father was right, you know, about measuring people by how they treat others. You've been treated poorly, and instead of becoming bitter, you became kind. That says everything about who you are. I had Lily to think about, didn't want her growing up thinking cruelty was normal or acceptable. Wanted to show her there was a better way. You have. And watching you parent her has taught me things I never learned in business school, about patience and kindness and what really matters." 6 months later, Ryan stood in a packed community center watching Claire address a room full of local business owners. She'd started a program through Morrison Industries to support small businesses, offering contracts and mentorship to help them grow. "My father built this company from a single garage," Claire said from the podium. "He never forgot that success isn't just about profit, it's about lifting up the community that supports you. These partnerships we're announcing today are about creating opportunities for people who work hard and deserve a chance to build something lasting." After the event, as people mingled and discussed the new opportunities, Ryan stood with Lily, who was proudly wearing a Junior Morrison Industries badge Claire had made for her. "Dad," Lily whispered, "is Claire going to be my new mom?" Ryan knelt down to his daughter's level. "Would you like that?" "Yes. She's nice and she makes you smile again. Like you used to before Mom left." "Well, I haven't asked her yet. That's something grown-ups have to talk about." "You should ask her. I think she'll say yes." Later that evening, after Lily was asleep, Ryan and Claire walked through the park near his house, the same park where he'd pushed Lily on swings while worrying about bills and wondering if he'd ever feel whole again. "Lily asked me today if you were going to be her new mom," Ryan said. Claire stopped walking. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I hadn't asked you yet, that it was something we needed to talk about. And are we talking about it now?" Ryan turned to face her fully. "Claire, I never expected to meet someone like you. That night at the bar, I was just trying to have one beer before going home to my quiet life. I never imagined that being mocked by strangers would lead to meeting someone who'd change everything." "Neither did I," Claire said softly. "You see past the overalls and the grease stains. You see me, and you see Lily. You make us both feel valued and loved. You've helped me build my business, but more importantly, you've helped me remember I deserve happiness too. Ryan, I don't have a ring. I don't have some elaborate plan. But I have a daughter who adores you, and a heart that's all yours if you want it. Claire Morrison, will you marry me? Claire's eyes filled with tears. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. They married quietly 6 months later in Ryan's backyard, surrounded by friends, employees from both their businesses, and Lily, who served as the world's most enthusiastic flower girl. During his vows, Ryan spoke about the unexpected nature of love, about how judgment and mockery had accidentally led him to the person who'd see his true worth. During hers, Claire talked about her father's legacy and how Ryan had helped her honor it by reminding her that success is measured in lives touched, not dollars earned. Years later, when Lily was older and asked about how they met, Ryan and Claire would tell her the story of the bar, the mocking executives, and the CEO in a red dress who'd seen past overalls to the person wearing them. The moral, Claire would say, is that you should never judge people by their appearance or their job. Everyone has a story. Everyone has worth. And sometimes, Ryan would add, pulling both his girls close, the worst moments lead to the best ones. Sometimes being mocked in a bar leads to meeting the love of your life. That's a weird way to meet, Lily would inevitably say. Yes, they'd agree, but it's our way, and we wouldn't change a single moment. Because the truth was, that night of judgment and cruelty had revealed something important. It had shown who people really were when they thought no one important was watching. And it had brought together two people who understood that worth isn't determined by job titles or bank accounts, but by character, kindness, and the courage to see value where others see only a mechanic in dirty overalls. The end. If this story reminded you not to judge people by appearances, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales about unexpected connections and the courage to stand up for what's right. Comment below about a time you or someone you know was underestimated, or when standing up for someone led to something meaningful. Your story might encourage someone else to look beyond the surface.